Hey again, YouTube, Nutjob with Machete, back with not a review. Tips and tricks from a very amateur knife maker kind of video. If you hear meowing, Tang's just there. I've got crows, grackles, and magpies all around me, and there might even be a squirrel or two that comes on up. Knife making is not a gateway. If you've been watching some of my other videos, you know that I buy kits, or I get sent kits. Thank you again, Goldland. They didn't sponsor, they just sent a really nice gift, and that was amazing. It's like Massalong sent me a really nice gift. Like, these companies are great. Anyways, he's just gonna marr at us the whole time. Kits. Don't feel bad to buy kits. My very first knife making attempt was a piece of crap. Mystery steel, because of course it was, and I shaved it down and I had it sharpened, and it was way too thick and it was way unwieldy and I couldn't harden it. If you guys watch the knife review / knife making that I did with the NAKIT15, I'll have shown you where I work. It's in there. It's as wide as me, like literally. Yeah, this is my outside storage closet. High tech. So, I don't have a lot of tools in there. No, that's not true. I have a lot of tools in there. A lot of woodworking tools, some that I can use for metalworking, but I don't have a lot of space. There's no bandsaw or anything in there. Hang on a second, let me grab Tang and bring him out to you guys. Yeah, this is the little jackass that's making all the noises. Okay? He doesn't get to go outside. Not out here, anyways. When we move, yes. Time to go back inside, bud. What you do? So instead, we put him up on those little hammocks, and we let him look outside with his sister. And he sits and he meows, and he sits and he meows. So, anyways, knife making kits. Don't ever feel bad about having to buy a knife making kit. I don't have any tempering equipment in there. Like, I don't have nap gas, anything like that stored out here, just because it's dangerous. Like, I don't have any space to get a good flame going. I don't have anything like that. Tang is starting to annoy me. He's just going in the background. Shouldn't have taken him outside, now he's going more. Anyways, so I tend to buy dull kits. So basically the knives are pre-hardened. They're what most knife makers would consider like 80% of the way there, and you just got to put on like a handle, the guard, you got to finish the profile, all of that stuff. And those are great ways to learn. Great ways to learn. And you should never feel bad for buying them, because you can get amazing knives. Now, my very first, where I bought the knife handle, well, the knife blade itself with a handle is an embarrassment, so I'm not showing you guys. And there's one I used for carving, and I put it away, and I don't feel like pulling it out. That one's a moron. That I just did a little, what is it? Elm? Little elm handle. That I don't have a lathe, so I literally stuck 2 nails in the end and loosely held it with a pair of pliers, and then used a belt sander to kind of shape the handle. It worked out really well. But it was rat tail Tang. Drilled through. I drilled too big of a hole the first time, and so I kind of had to figure out how to hold the blade in place, and then I had to reshape the handle based upon the blade. If you're going to do rat tail Tang knives, I said his name and he jumped up. If you're going to do rat tail Tang knives, there's so many tips and tricks and tools that are out there, but I showed this in the other video. This is a handle broach. You drill the center hole, and then you saw down for the width of the tang that you need. I keep saying his name and he keeps popping up and meowing. I don't know if you guys can hear him. I know you can probably hear this thing. But yeah, do something like that. So if it's like a 2mm blade, you can get these in 2mm width. They come slightly wider than you need, so just shave them down. And they're worth it. They make life so much easier. Because the other way you can do it is drill multiple holes of about the right width, but kind of like if you're doing a tenon using like a Forstner bit. You can do it like that, and then you can kind of chisel those spots out. You might have to buy yourself some extra long blades or extra long drill bits. Princess Auto, which is where a lot of those tools came from, and for my American viewers, that's our Harbor Freight roughly, has some really long drill bits on sale right now for like, I think 7 pieces for $13, and they are long. Just be prepared to for the smaller ones to have a bit of a bend in them, and you might have to fix them yourself. See, Snickers is sitting there and she's all quiet. She's literally glaring at me. I'm not bringing you out, sweetheart. But that's, one of the other ways to do it. So you don't need to buy a tool. You might need to buy longer drill bits, but sometimes those are handy to have anyways. Okay, kits. My second kit that I bought. So the first one was actually from Varustelka. It was their Skrava, and it's in there, and the handle is horrible, and I gotta take it off. But I epoxied it in place, so it's gonna be a bitch to do. And then I'm gonna customize that the tang that's on there. It's hardened steel, so it's kind of a bitch, which is why I haven't done it yet. I also need to make a sheath for it, and I only just got some good leather for that sheath. I have no idea if this is too loud, so I'm just gonna pull it. It was one of these. It was this thing. Yeah, this is a Kislar Supreme Sensei. I bought this before the war, years ago. It comes, it's got a rat tail, or not a rat tail, skeletonized handle, and this is unsharpened when you get it. Is it the perfect knife or anything? No. Is it the perfect handle? No. But this was kind of an experiment in, this is a very, very dense G10. And these are hardened steel plugs, which I found out when I started sanding and grinding. But this is a really, really good knife. I haven't made a sheath for it because I only just found my Kydex and I wanted to do a Kydex sheath. But this is a really good knife, and it's a great kit to start with. It is not cheap, but like I said, it comes unsharpened. You can add an edge however you like. It actually wasn't that difficult to add an edge on this one, and it's kept the edge really well. But that was a kit. Kits that come with everything, those are really nice to get. If you're not interested in leather work, like I am interested in leather work, I've started making sheaths. Ta-da! I need to finish off the strap that goes up here, but like it's not a great sheath. This is literally like, I think the 3rd or 4th sheath leather I've ever made. I've made Kydex sheaths. They're relatively simple. Heat, bend, rivet, stuff like that. But yeah, if you're not interested in doing that, you can get kits that come with. So this is a Coldland, and it's really a pretty damn decent sheath. You could water form it if you really wanted to. I don't care to, because this knife actually sits in there really well. And yeah, you get a really nice knife that comes with handle scales. These actually aren't the handle scales that came with this one. I swapped them out because I did what I called brother knives. I literally made another knife, and I let my brother pick them, and it was his wedding present. So it's like this one, the more traditional one, or the newer one with like a blue handle and everything, and he chose the blue handle one. My younger brother chose the younger looking knives, but it might be a little bit of drilling. and some pinning and stuff like that. If you don't have a drill press, those little like $10 drill blocks are really handy. Get them from like Canadian Tire. Canadian Tire was $12 yesterday. Amazon, I think I saw them for $10. You can get them cheaper. It just depends on where you want to go. So something like this, or this is my wife's bushcraft knife that I made for her Christmas a little while back. And the other one is also my wife's knife, and you can see I kind of almost stole the idea from this, but this is from BPS Knives. So I started with Russian, and now I've got a Ukrainian knife. And it's another one that comes with everything. Oh, by the way, that's my maker's mark. I don't put it on a lot of my knives, just because I have to make the stamp again, kind of burnt out. But yeah, like she could tell she's used this one. This one, I think it came with the wood, and then my wife actually really likes these Proud. These are just Chicago screws that go through there. And this one came, if I remember correctly, dull. Ridiculously sharp now, because this is me. I sharpened it up for her, and she's used it since and topped it off. Great idea. Nice sheath, you know, just wonderful little things. If you're going to go with this ultra dense micarta, I picked this up from Princess Auto 2. Be prepared to go through saw blades and a lot of belts on your belt sander, especially if you're using a 1x30 like that one. Wear a mask. You're going to get covered head to toe. This stuff is ridiculously strong. It also adds a lot of weight, but it can make for a very nice handle. And I have a lot of it. This one, same material. And in fact, you can actually kind of see the layers. I don't know if you can see the layers. Another example. This one's a ridiculously cheap knife making kit. All it comes with is the knife and the brass guard, which I ended up kind of working a bit to make it a little more comfortable. So you have to buy your own handles. There's no sheath. I'm making a sheath for this one. Not sure what I want to do yet. But you can make really nice, simple knife. This one's custom. This one's mine. This ain't going nowhere. I had a boot knife from my grandpa. It's one of the first knives I ever got from him. I got that, and I got another knife I call Fid. And you guys, if you watch some of my old survival videos where as a young pup I went out, you'll see Fid in some of those videos. It's a trade knife. It's a very nice trade knife. But, you know, I decided I wanted one that I could actually carry around, because Pepeo's is really been sharpened down. Like, it's 2/3 of this. But yeah, like, I think this was $13, and I had the scale left over. I'd already paid, so all told $13, and I got myself a really good knife. The steel is not the best, but it's a boot knife, so yeah. Other examples from that manufacturer that have actually turned out gorgeous. This is my wife's new bush knife. Right? And when you buy the cheaper ones, again, this one actually came pre-assembled with the guard in place, so there's no option to do anything. When you buy the cheaper ones, you'll see fit and finish you might have to fiddle around with, but mostly it'll be like 1 or 2 pieces. But you'll see stuff like this, and this is kind of something you can learn from. If you're making it for yourself, do you give a shit that you can see the steel through the brass? Well, it's up to you. Nikki doesn't. She actually really likes it. She's like, oh, it's just kind of like a nice little accent. These were different micarta handles, and she loves blue, so I like using the micarta for handles like this because they tend to pop. I'm a bit more traditional, but you'll see that can change. And then, let's take these off for a while. You know, I think this was $14. It's not perfect. Would I buy this and then try and sell it on to someone? I don't know. if I wanted a small profit, maybe, but yeah. And then obviously, like I said, you're gonna have to make your own sheath, which is that. Why am I holding it? Because this is very thin leather, and the knife is a little top heavy, and it goes boom. So there's going to be a secondary retention strap up here that's just going to hold the knife and let it kind of move a little bit. I would have made this longer and done a retention strap around here, but learning. So yeah, that micarta handle on a cheap knife, does it look great? Yeah, it actually does. And you can do something like this with it. So this is one of my new bushcraft knives. Same thing. This was a relatively inexpensive blank. Came unsharpened. Came with the brass, but if it didn't, and it was like $10 or something like that, and you wanted to buy it, you can buy this thickness of brass for like $8, and you get quite a large amount. That thick chunk was $20. This is Canadian, by the way, so my American friends, it'll be cheaper. But like, that's not bad. You don't need much. If you've got a belt sander, great. It will help with stuff like this. If you've got one of those, I'm pointing because my wife bought it for me for my birthday, which was just a little while ago. Yeah, getting older. That will clamp onto your knives and let you rotate any direction so that you can work and sand and so on and so forth. Those are really nice. You don't really need it. You can kind of make something that'll work just as well. Or you can use, I picked up a $12 vise. It's an aluminum vise, so it's not super strong or anything like that, but that's fine. And before I got that thing, I was using this vise, and you know, I could just kind of tilt it a little bit and kind of move it around. It's not the best vise. I fixed it yesterday. I figured out why it was loose. But yeah, you know, you can make a really decent knife with just simple tools. Shinto rasp if you wanted to, a regular rasp, woodworking tools, metalworking files, whatever you want, you can make something really, really nice. I pin and epoxy because I really don't want the handles going anywhere. And I don't trust my pinning work just yet. So, but for $10, you can make yourself a really nice knife. And then if you've got scrap leather and you're interested, you can make, you know, leather sheaths or make kydex. These talkie videos where it's like tips and tricks from the knife maker kind of crap, or my opinions on stuff, don't do very well. It's getting bright again. I hate squinting at the camera. It's a nice day out here. It was warm yesterday and I spent a little too much time out here, which is why I'm in the shade. But you can make really nice knives. Start by making a knife for yourself. Anyways, as I was saying, they don't do very well because who the fuck cares about my opinion? But I just want to share stuff, and if it helps you, great. That's awesome. I actually do give a shit about helping people. I can't send you money if you're poor or anything like that. And I can't send you food because, sorry, I'm kind of there myself. But I can teach you about things. By the way, most of these were purchased before my current issues. Or were given to me as a gift. That is like brand new thing from that, by the way, is this. Go watch the other video. No, I shouldn't say shit like that because, like I said, I'm not monetized. This was a gift. The set, the kit was a gift from my wife. But now I've got Paduke I can use for a handle and other stuff. So I tend to have scrap wood. I want to say stepdad, but he's basically my dad, is a cabinet maker, or was a cabinet maker. So lots of offcuts and scraps and stuff like that I can turn into shit like this, or cutting boards, or whatever I feel like. It's really, really nice. And then I've got some, you know, regular wood that's been seasoned for years. It gets hot in there, and it also gets very cold, which is why there's foam here. So I can actually do shit in the wintertime and not freeze my ass off and go stir crazy. Anyways. And the last one. So I actually have I think 3 more sets. I've got 2 more Coldlands. One was a gift. One was a gift from Coldland. One was a gift from my wife, and I think she wants me to make that so that I can make her another one. And I've got a couple more from like these guys. The really cheap knife blanks tend to be from like Zuko. So like that one, and the 2 little ones were from Zuko. Some of the other ones you'll have to look around. We actually have a knife making / tool making supplier out in Stony Plain. So they'll have stuff like this. So this one, see, it's very kind of aggressively ground, was a unsharpened but heat treated blank, and it was probably 60% of the way there. But it was a factory second. So this was actually kind of cheap. I fucked up a little bit on it. I wanted to drill through this piece of brass straight. But the drill block that I was waiting on didn't arrive, thanks to a courier error, for 3 days. 3 days after I had already planned out the work progression. So I did this by hand, and I kind of fucked up. So I had to, it went off kilter a little bit. There already was a hole in here. But whatever. Went off kilter a little bit. Factory second, but still nice. With the rat tail, as it goes down, these are epoxied in, not just pinned. Like I said, I don't trust my pinning. But I'll cut little back slots in them so that the epoxy has something to grab onto and really holds it in there. But yeah, I'm gonna put a nice edge on this one. It's a very thick blade, so I put a pretty decent edge. And it's basically now just kind of like a hunting knife. This might end up being a gift for someone. I haven't decided. I have to make the sheath for it first. But yeah, there was a little bit of patinaing, hello Blue Jay, on the brass, and there was the edge alignment wasn't great, so I had to do a little bit of grinding on the bevel. So, but now, yeah, and upcycled that axe handle I mentioned. So, yeah. Tips, straight up tips. Don't get discouraged. Whatever you're doing, you're not going to do it perfect the first time. You're not going to do it perfect the second time. You're not going to do it perfect the third time. It takes practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. But if you want to just make a one-off knife, get something from Zuko. Get something from Coldland. Which kind of brings me to a quick little random. Which is easier, rat tail kits or slab kits? Slab kits being a full tank kit that you get the handle slabs. I'd say slab kits, because they tend to be a little bit less work overall. You'll just have to shape, I'm using the Coldland as an example, and use the Coldland for the other one. You just have to shape the wood, so you have to cut it down to the right size. You kind of have to position it, and then you have to sand it. You can sand it in situ, with the knife blade on, and if it's not damask, then that's really easy, because then you can just get it nice and flat, and you can roll it however you like. Make that handle, whatever thickness you want. Like I said, this one's a little bit proud of this because I like how that feels. But yeah, they tend to be a little bit easier. You don't even have to put the pins in if you're using a really good epoxy. The pins just tend to be added security and a contrast. And you can do, like I said, the pins in any color, like brass and copper if you wanted to. Hardened steel rod, I wouldn't recommend that one, but you can use threaded rod and just kind of round it off, and it would add an interesting contrast and profile. Or you can just glue it, like this one. This one glued in place in situ. Excuse me. Didn't want any brass pins or anything, because it's just basically a boot knife. I could darken this, anodize it, hi Blue Jay, if I wanted to kind of match up the color. Don't make a mess. Grackles and the Blue Jays are here. But yeah, just glued this in place, shaped the handle. This originally had a coffin handle. I didn't like that, so I went with a rounded. And it's a lot more comfy for me. Or if you wanted to, like I said, slab side I find are easier. But if you do want to do the rat tails, like this guy and this guy, so I practice on this one first. If you want to do them and you know the width, a set of calipers, even cheap ones, are really handy. You can get good cheap calipers off Amazon, or you can get them at Canadian Tire. Every once in a while they go on sale at Princess Auto. You can find them at Harbor Freight, stuff, places like that. I think even Walmart. Measure the thickness of your spine and the corresponding, hopefully, thickness of the tang. Yes, Blue Jay. And then figure out your drill holes. If it's not that wide of a tang, or it tapers, if it tapers to a point, a center point, drill that Blue Jay, drill that center hole all the way down to where your tang needs to go, and then add about 1/4 of an inch if you can. There's a reason for that. And then if you've got room, drill 2 other holes on the far extremes where the edge of the drill bit is just touching. Maybe just touching is what I did. The very edge of the layout lines that you've marked. And yes, you'll have to do some layouts because, you know, the width of your material and stuff like that. So take the material that you've got, another piece of that old axe handle, take the material that you've got, put your guard on it if you wanted to, kind of line that out, draw in that, make sure you got your center line, figure out roughly where you got to drill. If you can do it in three drills, that's great. You'll probably have to chisel a little bit. If you did want to do just the center drill hole, the width of your blade, or a little bit wider, you can do that, because if you're going to have like a guard or a bolster or a guard on there, it's going to cover up that little bit wider. And then you take your handle broach, it's sharp. Take your handle broach and you saw it down to where you need it. That'll work just as good. And this one had enough length this way for the long rat tail of that. I did end up shaping that rat tail just a little bit because of the way I drilled it. Because I drilled the center line slightly off kilter, I had to saw up a little bit more. So it was either saw with this thing for like 3 hours, or take the tang to the belt sander in there for 5 minutes. I did that. But yeah, like, realistically, whatever your imagination is, you can do it. Buy a kit, $10, make yourself a really good knife. Don't be afraid of the cheaper kits to start. I mean, honestly, like I said, this was like $10 with the handle scales left over. $14 for this one. They still turned out beautiful. Or get yourself, you know, higher end. Like I said, this one came dull for $75. But it's a different steel. This is D2 steel. It's really, really good with titanium nitride coating. So you can start with something insanely expensive if you want for a blank. But don't let your lack of forge or tempering or anything like that hold you back. Get a kit, try it out. You might fall in love with it like I have. This is too many knives. And yeah, just give it a go. don't ever let someone tell you your stuff isn't worth making, because it is. It's for you. If you want to make it for someone else and gift them away, I have done that with half a dozen knives now. I tend to do it with the kitchen knives more than anything. I've made, let's see, 3 micarta handled kitchen knives. Yeah, micarta in a kitchen, slightly odd, but I mean, you're not supposed to put it in the dishwasher. When I say kitchen knives, I mean chef's knives. I'm not supposed to put them in the dishwasher anyways, so they kind of reminded people to just wipe them down, clean them. Ridiculously sharp. I made 2, well, 1 paring knife and 1 fruit knife with beech and ebony handles, and another chef's knife with an ebony handle with a, what did I use for the accent? I think white oak for the accent piece on the very top. Ebony handle, accent piece in white oak, sort of the opposite of what you normally get. Normally you're going to get like beech and then like a little ebony accent. Completely different. Ebony's a bitch to work with, but I have many slabs of it because lots of people like it. It's an amazing accent piece. So yeah, like, and then I've made scribing knives for people. I made a kiridashi. I've made, oh Jesus, how many others? From Coldland kits, I've made gifts for people. Fillet knife, fishing knives. I've made a chef's knives for our, that one was a bit of a one-off. I don't think that kit exists anymore. Made a chef's knife for when we go camping. A chef's knife that I can put on my belt and use as a bush knife if I need to. So, yeah. No point in any further. Tips and tricks. You guys want to share them, put them down in the comments below. Share this out to any new knife makers. If you want to be a knife maker yourself, I'll put the Coldland links below for their site, and I'll just do their site. You can check on Amazon.com and .ca, and you'll find their kits there as well. The site has a bigger selection. Amazon sometimes has better prices. It just depends on where the sales are happening. And that's it. So yeah, feel free to like this one if you want it, but share it with people that you think could use a tip or two. I know it was a bit rambly. It's probably why these don't do so well, but give it a go. Try making your first knife. Share it on socials. I share mine all the time. Nobody's gonna tell me that my knives aren't, you know, good for me or anything like that. They do? Fuck 'em. Ciao for now, guys. Till next time, stay sharp.